So, from the top, market opens today, and it's pretty stagnant, kind of caught near the lows in this wide chop range that we sold off into yesterday. We defended the Monday's lows, this very important vital range. We broke it to it further in the pre-market, and then we never visited. In fact, we got a bounce like off the lows here. Now, the one thing that was really concerning to me yesterday was how fast the bond market was selling off. And I even made a few offhand comments about the huge spike in the 10-year yields, right? This ended up actually being even more of a concern than I thought it was, as this is actually what led to them doing the 90-day pause. It was a kind of, in hindsight, reading the tape, that I came to this realization, looking at the comments from Bassett and the comments from Trump. I even shared it on the tape, but I didn't really piece it together that China now knows how they can really put pressure on the U.S. government is by dumping the treasuries. So if they continue to dump the treasuries and spike the yields, the market was getting pretty close to having some major breaks. Now, technically, it was a pretty good time for the cut because if you broke down in this range and we went into free fall here, that would probably have triggered that 10% that we're talking about in class last night, okay, on that probability and the huge crush. Now, China knows what the trigger button is now and how to really break the markets from where they're at right now. VIX has come down a lot. It's still above 30, though, so you're still in a bit of a danger zone, okay? So after the pause on tariffs against countries who have not been retaliatory, okay, so China tariffs are still on Canada and Mexico, and I don't think there's anyone else major. Really, the only one who's major right now is China, right? So now we're looking. Keep in mind, okay, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. So now we know what caused the trigger, what they are more focused on. It's not equities, it's bonds. That's what gave them the warning sign. That's what caused them to actually reverse on policy, and that's what actually gave the rally in the stock market. Okay, so we can also see that the big tech names are the ones leading the way: Nvidia, Meta, Apple. Right, there's still some persistent weakness when it comes to Amazon. Surprisingly, Google. I set up the Google. Should have set up the Meta or Microsoft. We'll see how that plays out. And then Tesla, which I called out, but I didn't take it personally. Congrats if you did. This Tesla, when it broke the 255, even the denial here and then the retest and breakthrough, I mean, everything else was pretty stagnant after the rally, and this thing just kept pumping. So if we get a continuation here, if we can get a solid move through the 275, this thing can keep running to like 300. It is definitely far above and beyond the strongest name right now on the market. So let's get some of these out of the way here. So, a good pop over to the upper end of this bearish EMA is what we should be watching for. But we should also, this is so important, this is still not, and this is why I took lots of profits coming into today, okay? The VIX is still stupid high. China knows what the pressure point is, and the tariffs are on long enough to almost literally break the market. And we didn't get them reversed. We only got them paused, okay? And we have earnings season coming up, and we know that this is going to do massive damage to supply. Some companies like Amazon have already made comments. Walmart says they haven't made comments, and it's pretty much an international effect that we've seen. All right, different markets such as airlines are now reporting that they're not reporting anything, but just looking at the charts here, like some of the sector charts, like they are now looking awful. Sorry, there's Jets. They got a rally today, but like this market has been absolutely crushed. Okay. Oh, and side note too, we have to take note. Gold again is absolutely confirming what I said last year. Is I think gold's in a bubble. Look at this thing barely just touch the daily bullish EMA and bounce viciously off of it. It's the only thing. And granted, usually when the market gets crushed to this extent, goes into bear market territory, usually nothing survives that. Gold and gold miners have survived that easily. So like these long gold miner calls that we have are still doing really well and survive the blood really well. So very soon, I want to size up even more in these trades. You know, we took a lot of profits off. I think that this eruption into the 50s, potentially the 60s for the gold miners is still a high probability outcome. So I want that to be on everyone's radar because even if we get a retracement in the market, I think that the miners could survive. But the big thing here coming in for SPY is we are not out of the danger zone when it comes to the selling that we got today. Okay, we didn't even get the reversal on the weekly chart at all. We're coming back to this EMA channel right here, and in my opinion, at this 1.618 would be the completion of a C wave back to the upside on the daily chart. And I don't even know if we can really get there before we get another big push down. Could be even sooner. Because to me, this looks like a bunch of short covering. Granted, this is like breaking, like, you know, in the 5 minute was signaling a rollover all day, right? But then the shorts, you get the breakout of the triangle right here, and then the shorts have to start covering. So in my opinion, it's been really difficult to trade. And even in fact, one of the mistakes I made even on futures, just to, you know, be humble about how difficult these conditions are, is like, you know, I getting caught up in just looking at the chart structure, forgetting how massive the move is. And I was trying to short on the 5 minute rollover with the 10 minute, giving the breakdown signal. I think I've talked about this a lot with you guys, but when you get a big trend like this and then the 10 minute starts to roll over, that's usually the top for the intraday pattern. Today, that wasn't the case at all. You broke above the triangle and this thing squeezed all the way into the close. We could probably actually just delete that alert. That was a very old alert. And we got the squeeze. Now, this is as bullish to the upside as it was when it was doing those multiple gap downs, by the way, coming into this close and with this price action. And part of that is the fact that we had freed up all this price action is why, like, my normal signals to get short on the 5 minute stuff weren't panning out. But that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. And it is very typical when we have these big crash events or when we're in these type of environments that you do get these massive up days and then massive retracements. So we got the explosion here. Let's go to a cleaner chart to 4,500. We ended up getting out of the gamma pits that we had been in, and we even got over blue right over the positive gamma that had been providing a lot of resistance here in the previous days. Now, what I want to see is on the next sell-off, because I'd probably say 80% chance, maybe even higher, that after we complete this 618 or even before, it doesn't have to be a perfect touch. Like, a lot of technicals are kind of breaking down and they're not as clean. So I wouldn't expect anything to be perfectly clean. But around 5,600 or even before then, I'm expecting a massive dump. If we then see 5,200 provide strength, that's when I'll start ripping lots and lots of calls. Okay, that'll be, in my opinion, the go signal. The VIX is still too high. There's still too many unknowns on the table. We still are at the trade war with China. They're trying to manipulate the bond market, cause destruction there. And there's that fiscal. There's still this like weird fiscal systemic risk in the market, okay? And I was worried about the bonds, and then when Bassett made that comment, in hindsight, it is clear to me that I was not worried enough about that, in fact, okay? So kind of got lucky that we didn't get the massive plummet. And so I missed some of the upside. I wasn't bullish enough. I cut some of my lottos too early. But I'm telling you guys right now, if you're feeling a FOMO like me, where you weren't long enough, you didn't maximize, I tell you, this high volatility, these massive swings are definitely, in my opinion, not done. Just looking at historical price action back in '08 or even during COVID on what those recoveries looked like, to think that we're going to do a full-blown V-shape without a resolution between the U.S. and China, I think is probably the lowest probability outcome. Okay, it's probably a lower probability outcome than us finding new lows and actually going down to about 4,300 or so, in my opinion. I think it was 4,100 is what we had originally talked about there. That's where there's a giant gamma pit. So that's what I'm looking for right now. And that's why I'm still rolling positions. I'm still taking lots of profits, and I'm keeping these wide horizons, and just in case there's these massive gap up moves, I can snag some money on that. And I'm also using that as an opportunity to kind of keep my allocation relatively low as well, because I'm looking for just big grand slams within the volatility. So for a lot of things, I'm not playing very close to the money, and I'm not playing very large. Because the deltas aren't going to be as relevant when your VIX is so high, right? That's one of the reasons why I just haven't bothered playing very close to the money or even really worried about deltas. Even lottos are more set up to look like regular size trades, because your delta could be 5, but after the news that came out today, right, your delta before you could even look back at the option chain was already at 25, because the market had moved, not even on the SPIX, but on the SPY, 30 points, right? So, which is just, I hope you guys are taking a step back and realizing how insane that truly is. As well. It's also made it really difficult to do the morning watch list, because none of the pre-market structures are really that solidified, nor do I expect them to have as high win rate in this type of environment when the VIX is so high. I still got a few reps in, on some trades that looked like they could play out. The Bank of America trade that we took this morning, and I believe there's one more. I can't even remember it. So much has happened today, and there's been so much to pay attention to. But I'm still trying to take some small reps, but control losses on those to some great extent. But in my opinion, we can't go mega long here, because we're going to do another massive retracement. And when we do that, 5,200 to 5,250 is what I'm looking at, okay? So we can drift a little bit higher. We could squeeze the shorts in this market a little bit higher, in my opinion, if they're especially, it depends on how badly offsides they're being caught. We might even try to fill this major gap up here and get another massive update tomorrow. But then I'm looking for an absolute brutal, maybe even multi-day plunge. So, literally we could gap up and then start to roll over tomorrow and then plunge straight down on Friday is totally in the cards, in my opinion, okay? We are not out of this massive volatility range. Nor we are out of the woods when it comes to the structural issues in the bond market. All right. Does all of that make sense? Is there any questions? I got through that way quicker than I anticipated, but I'm not really good. The plan isn't really to sit on too much individual trade reviews, right? Because honestly, we haven't been playing too much out of the playbook. We've just been playing off of the news, which isn't really all that repeatable. But we did talk about, I also got a lot of DMs from quite a few traders, by the way, who took this, and we were talking about, you get the pause, you can get long. There are a lot of you who immediately were much faster than me on that report and took that on that news and got long. I was actually, since it had gotten to around noon with no report, I was actually kind of expecting us to plunge. to the downside. And the mistake there was not having the realization of how bad the selling was in the bond market and how scary this was for the spike in 10 years. There was literally no one that I know talking about it until Bissett said something. And now, of course, everyone on Twitter is acting like, oh, I knew it was a big problem, but I didn't see. No one I know was talking about it. But when they make that comment, it was a pretty big deal. I'm not seeing a single question. So we're all feeling pretty 100% about that. We're all feeling like feeling good, right? We're not feeling like we've had too much FOMO. Let me just be clear to you guys. Like, if you haven't lost a fuck ton of money and you've not blown yourself up, you're doing phenomenal. Keep that in mind, okay? There are hedge funds that are currently on the brink of destruction right now, and this relief rally probably saved them. You're feeling FOMO and you're feeling FOMO. FOMO is a waste of time, guys. There's literally no reason to feel FOMO. There's literally no reason. This thing's going to dump again. FOMO from NVIDIA. I mean, I rolled NVIDIA, didn't I? I thought we hit a lot of NVIDIA trades. Are we not taking your plays? Oh. I was going to say, I have I have 14 trades on NVIDIA today. ON's fine. It's just a widespread. We could talk about ON. Massive rally out of the hole. It's just coming up here. It's testing this bearish EMA. If you get a nice move over that, we should be back in the 55s pretty much in like a blink of an eye. We also have the great news from Vietnam. Yeah, we're coming up. We're testing this EMA convergence. Yeah, you get over 48, you should get into the 55 in the mid 50s pretty fast. 60-minute looks good. Looks like we're going to have a great continuation. There is almost no retracement to the close. Yeah, this thing just looks like almost all the tech stocks. I'm surprised it actually didn't outperform a bit more with the Vietnam news, because actually they're going to walk away from this whole tariff war better off than they were before. Same goes for Nike and Lulu, which I guess we could take a look at those. I just like ON best. Lulu, same chart structure, actually a bigger retracement into the close. Nike, that's a really clean level from Nike. It's just not as strong. There's probably a day 2 there, but ON will probably outperform it. Yeah, when you go to regular trading hours, this looks amazing. Looks like you've already got the breakout. You just literally need over 46, and then 48 probably comes fast. That's the top of your EMA convergence. You break above that, boom, you're at 54. Easy peasy. Very doable before the next dump. Very doable. Someone dropped some billions into Nike a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. That's some dumbass boomer who thinks Nike. Excuse my language, by the way. Wow, I just popped off the deep end for no reason at all. I think boomers think that Nike's a great deal because they remember Nike when it was $177 and now it's a steal. I think Nike's at its time, and I think you're going through a trend phase, and I don't think Nike's it. Have you tried these on cloud shoes or even the on cloud subscription? Nike doesn't offer anything like that. If you're a runner, why would you want to buy a new pair of Nikes every 3 months when you can just do a $30 subscription with that on cloud company? Like that's freaking awesome. And I personally hate Nike. I've hated every pair of Nike shoes I've ever had. So let me just be very clear. I am obnoxiously uh, biased when it comes to Nike. I think sneakerheads are. I'm not gonna say anything bad just in case there's a sneakerhead in here, but I don't like Nike. Hated their shoes. Always hated their shoes. I've shorted the shit out of this stock. I've made a bunch of money shorting it because I can't stand them. I think it's a trash company. I think the trainers are trash. I think the management's trash, and I don't. They're just not in. They're not the end thing anymore. And the stock tells me that that's not just my bias, though. The stock tells me that's pretty on point. There was another question there. Snowflake. Why do people keep asking about Snowflake? Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're staring at Snowflake and you're not staring at Oracle, you're making a huge mistake. I don't know why retail loves Snowflake because Oracle is going to be the big winner. Oracle is going to be who wins the software war. But yeah, I mean, Snowflake's in the chart request VP. I guess I should have mentioned that first because I know you don't. You are probably the number one culprit of not paying attention to the chats. But someone just asked about Snow this morning, and actually that was last night, and I posted the chart this morning for them. But that's what I see for the target levels. Back then I said you were targeting 135. It looks like it came almost up to the 153 target that I had shared there. So 153, above 153, you look for 168. That's going to put you right around here. It's going to be this previous high here. This is what you're targeting next. It's kind of this key level. Technicals look the same pretty much across the board for tech more broadly. In my opinion, though, and even just on the day, I would like to think that Oracle probably outperformed it. No, Snow outperformed. Interesting. Well, to be fair, Oracle barely retraced and Snow got decimated. So I guess that does make sense. Yeah. I'm not sure if this company makes it, to be honest. Everyone keeps telling me it's the big... I've been hearing since it was like at $300 that this was the company of the future. And the CEO left. New CEO gets in. Company of the future. This company is going places. They have lakes of data. And sells off again. New CEO's not good. New CEO makes some changes. Everyone's super pumped. Oh, it's going to be amazing. And then just... where? I mean, look, 2024 was insanely bullish. If you didn't get a rally in 2024, what the hell's happening? And then just very recently, oh, it's back. It's the greatest thing. It barely needs to high and then just dumps. I'm pretty sure it dumped on this earnings too, even after it beat. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this company. We probably need to ask Monty, but Monty hates Snow. That's all I know too. So he's gonna have even worse things to say than I do. And he's the expert. He's the research expert. Anyhow, we got any more questions? I was looking at Snow for new lows, but then Trump made tariff go bye-bye. Yeah. Well, it's not bye-bye. It's on pause. 90-day pause. It's different. So if someone does something to make him mad, or there's some sort of disruption, or he feels like he needs to raise them again for some other objective not related to anything that might even be obvious, they'll come back. Same thing he's done with Mexico and Canada. Yeah. No, you're right, TSB. It is. I mean, even the VIX. I mean, the VIX being above 44 has felt like an eternity. Or above 40. I mean, we've been here for days. That's like decades. With the VIX this high, that is crazy to experience. And just from one guy. I mean, usually these literally appear and then disappear within 2 days. For us to be persistently this high in the VIX, and even then, this retracement is holding this like really nice bullish EMA here. Ooh, risky, dicey, scary. I'm waiting for the rug. Why are you mad, Stock Blocks? Tell me about it. Performance? There's a lot of you guys are mad about performance and feeling FOMO. I'm telling you guys. Listen, someone asked me about FOMO and all this stuff. I'm going to tell you guys right now. It'll be even easier for you if you don't work out. Go for a run. Go do some push-ups. Go do sit-ups or something that wears you out. Okay? Mental clarity will come from absolute physical exhaustion. Okay? So you get that out. You get a good workout in. You'll work out all those emotions through the body. Top Step screwed you and work screwed you. I see. I'm fit enough. Then work. Work out those emotions, brother. My mental spiral will become a pain. Keep in mind, guys, like for those of you who have studied the MBT playbook, like you have access to winning strategies. So all you have to do is work on the execution of those strategies. They have really high win rates. They all work. So for most of you guys, all you need to be doing is focusing on your psychology and keeping that in check. Keeping your sizing in check. That's really all you got to do. Now, the only thing that sucks is there's no end to that. Just gets easier. But there's real no end to that, okay? I've been doing this for 10 years. I can still sometimes get FOMO. So, review of the Biomed biotechs. I mean, they all got hammered, and I'm just trying to be patient on buying back. That's really the only thing I can say about the biotechs. Obviously, those are the worst performers in the portfolio right now. VKTX isn't a real position, honestly. It's the smallest position of the portfolio. But it had a real nice rebound today. This isn't a sector I've quite looked at because I don't think we've quite bottomed. I would not be shocked at all that if you don't look back 6 months from now and see and come to the realization that this was an insane deal to buy VKTX at $23. In my opinion, it is high probability that this thing finds its way back to the highs or even higher. It's a better product than LLY. They just have more, and they also resolve their manufacturing issues and distribution issues with the partnership. So, this company is worth like $500 billion, and what's VKTX at right now? Despite having a similar drug that's even more efficacious and less side effects. 14 million? Is that right? Holy crap. Oh, that's because I typed in the wrong ticker. Okay. I was about to say there's no way I was about to all in that thing. Okay, 2.5 billion. All right. I was about to all in the stock. I was like, there's no way it's 14 million. All right. FOMO means fear of missing out. That's what that means. So people when the market does a 40-point rally, people have the fear of missing out, and then they'll end up buying the tops and stuff rather than waiting for the retracement. And that's what I want you guys to take away from this the most, is that the probability that we have a massive retracement. Let's go back to SPIX. A massive retracement down to this 52 level where we've had like great support, or even maybe a little bit lower here. Maybe in the high 5100s is really high in my opinion. Just one more good pullback, and then clean out the VIX. And that, keeping that in mind, is what's keeping me from feeling too much FOMO, because today definitely could have been played a little bit better. Making great trades when I had time to sit down. Over time today will seem like nothing. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You made money though. I guess it's a good thing that you guys are past the point of trying to stay break even, and you're getting mad that you're not making more. That's a good spot to be in. Realize that most people are not in that spot. Most people are trying to figure out how the hell they make back all their losses, and they're FOMOing into these and getting blown up. Or if they haven't, they're about to get blown up when this thing does a rug pull. Yeah, I talked about gold earlier. It's in the recording. Still make a long gold. Gold looks like it's still in a massive bubble. And this is being recorded, by the way. I will upload it as the class recap. Okay, we're getting low on time here. So if you got questions, slot them in, and let's knock them out. I've pretty much covered what I wanted to cover. We're not going to do very many individual trade reviews because this is a headline-based market. Are we short oil and coal due to production increase via Trump? I wouldn't. Just in my opinion, there's too much going on. I mean, maybe if you can break this range. I mean, we're going on 3 years of just consolidation on USO. So maybe if you break this, I can set this in here. I could set that in there as a signal. If you break that, then maybe it's a short. But I'd say 50-50. It breaks that, or you get a long signal. Your long signal's probably actually here. Because of this consolidation, you see that here, that alignment there. That's probably your long signal. Probably more likely to be a short because recession, the probabilities of a recession went up like 60% during all this noise. Could the rebuilding of manufacturing in the U.S. mainly benefit robotics companies? Yes. Yes. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. If you try to force companies to have to do their manufacturing here in the U.S., I think without a doubt, 100% with where robotics are, companies are going to use this as an opportunity to say, okay, we could spend $50 million on bringing, Apple could spend $50 million bringing their manufacturing to the U.S., or they can go to Elon and they can say, hey, those big robotic factories that you build, can you do that for us? And spend $50 million to do that, and then not have a fraction of the recurring expenses. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. All this big push to bring back like coal worker jobs and stuff. I don't think any of that shit's going to happen. to be honest. First of all, Americans have shown that they don't want to do those jobs. Like they just won't. Apple that you mentioned in commentary. Oh yeah, that's in my opinion, Apple has been really weak and hasn't gotten the reclaim over 200. I did notice on the daily, it did like probably down to the wire. Actually, did manage to flip here, but it's still in bearish RSI trend here. So we'll see. We'll see if it can actually manage to push. But I think you could get a nice continuation tomorrow, and then if you see any signs of a rollover tomorrow, look for an absolute plunge to the downside Friday. Americans will do those jobs. That's not what the data says. Americans don't want those jobs. Americans don't want to work in the coal mine. They want to drive for Uber, and they want to do DoorDash. They want to work at like the local vape shop. They don't want to do the manufacturing jobs that Trump wants them to do. That's the huge reason. Why do you think Intel? Let's think about this. Like, why did Intel not get off the ground at all for years when they said they were going to bring their foundries here? Nothing. It's because analysts looked at the data and they're like, how is Intel even going to get the workers for this to be doable, to bring the manufacturing to the U.S.? We literally do not have the workforce because it's a manual labor job. To work at a foundry's manual labor job that also requires a significant amount of technical skill. We're already short on electricians and plumbers and like auto body workers and stuff. Like there's massive shortages in these areas, and we're supposed to build these massive foundries that are going to need tens and thousands of workers. There's just nothing there. Americans don't want to do those jobs. They just won't. Which is why the Biden administration was like, what if we just left the border open and we got all the foreigners to do it? That was how they resolved the labor shortage back during COVID. You know, that was a intentional political decision to try and provide labor relief because of the wage inflation. And it wasn't necessarily, I'll give them, it's not the worst decision. Because that's not what's taking real money away from Americans. We're getting way off topic, though. This investment will cause an increase of management positions, but that's it. Yeah, I mean, you're still going to need workers to oversee the robots. You're still going to need those technical manual labor jobs for technicians for them, but it's far fewer. Tesla will be your example of that. I think Amazon's automated warehouses will also give you an estimate of that. If you wanted to do a deep analysis, you would look at the number of employees that they hire, and then compare it to someone. I don't even think you could do Walmart. I think Walmart automates everything too, and SYM does theirs. And that's why I bought KRNT today. KRNT is really interesting. KRNT is an Israeli-based company that trades at a massive discount because of their because of the geopolitics and their location. But they're the leader in fabric printing. So if you do want to bring, which I guess it's not really to their advantage that Vietnam capitulated immediately, because I think that's where a good amount of clothes are made. But there's still some other Asian countries. So if you want to bring manufacturing jobs back here, KRNT probably has the potential to explode, because they're going to be able to give you the print on demand speed that you want. and the flexibility, and they have the widest range of fabrics available for their print-on-demand machinery. So they're probably the only company in the world that could actually take on a client like Nike or Lulu, or I don't even think they could do Lulu though, because Lulu has a proprietary fabric that they use. But like Costco or Walmart or Target, like their clothing lines could be serviced by KR&T. If anyone is going to do it, it's going to be this company, and this company trades at a crazy cheap discount. AVUV, yeah, I will continue to slowly average into this. This is the value small cap names. And I think that on the other side of this, I still think that we could be headed towards some sort of financial risk event that's going to send us into a recession and cause the Fed to have to finally step in and do some rate cuts later in the year. Maybe after some rate hikes. I think we're headed towards crazy turbulence, to be honest, guys. And I think that all the disruption that we got within the supply chains and the trade rebalancing that's occurring right now is the prerequisite, or was just the primer for the turbulence that's coming later in the year. And I don't have the full picture yet, but I think I have the pieces of it, and I'm just trying to piece it together a little bit better. So like right now, what I'm doing, let me tell you guys what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm reading through the supply chain research, and I'm going to be reading through the inventories on earnings reports, and then I'm going to be listening to experts like Jim Bianco. I'm going to have a close eye on what he thinks of the current situation. Darius Dale, I'm going to have a really close eye of what he thinks of the situation as well. Oh, there's one other guy. I can't remember his name. There's one other guy who I'll also be keeping an eye on. This is like the big macro guys that are kind of good at that stuff, good at keeping track of the interest rates and where they trade at. And they're also good recession watchers who have good track records. You know, most guys who call for recessions have called 20 of the last 3 recessions, right? And they just suck. They're just perma bears. They don't make money. They're useless, right? So there's a few guys though who, when they call for recession, they're usually right. So I'll be also putting my ear to the ground and listening to the real experts, and not your Peter Schiffs and whatever that are very mainstream. Those guys suck. They're completely useless. They're not helpful at all. But there's a few experts who I'll definitely be paying way more attention than usual to kind of bounce my ideas off theirs and keep an ear to the ground of what they're thinking too. So that's what I'm doing and what I'll be watching, because I feel like this is like very end of fourth turning type of environment right now. There's going to be some major restructuring. The global world order, some of these trade systems that Trump just disrupted have existed for literally 50 years. You don't just swap that in a day and then go, oh, never mind, and everything's fine, right? Everyone's like, that almost screwed us for a decade. We better figure out alternatives, right? Not only just the companies in the U.S. that are looking for alternatives, everyone is looking for alternatives and trying to restructure everything and trying to diversify their sourcing. Like, everyone's doing that all at once. This is massive global restructuring. Okay? So it's pretty big. And so AVUV is a great way to say, later in the year, if we get quantitative easing, if we get robots and great AI, and we'll just say, instead of saying quantitative easing, we'll just say fiscal easing, combined with these cheaper alternatives to create extremely high productivity. And then we also are in a domestic space. So these are companies that are not going to have a lot of international exposure. So we can cut out some of the noise there. Like, this, in my opinion, is the best way to express your bullish view for the later part of the year, is AVUV. These are small cap companies and an active managed ETF that is doing as little discernment as possible. So literally, they just look at the small caps. Does this small cap make money, and are they profitable? Okay, we throw them in this ETF. That's all this really is, and so I like that. I think it's a great way to express my bullishness there. So I really like, and I mean I've been pretty consistent with this throughout the year, and I don't think it's changed at all. AVUV gold miners are my favorite thing for this year, and then I'm nibbling on some tech. I almost nibbled on some Nvidia, and I might buy a little bit of Nvidia soon too. But I bought MU because memory is going to be a huge thing, both for cloud computing, for the robots. Keep in mind, there's not a GPU inside of a Tesla bot. But they all use Micron chips, memory chips. Filecoin, right? But you're not gonna put Filecoins on the robot, right? So, but that might be interesting for the cloud story. I don't know. I kind of need to see it work first, but it's not a terrible idea. It might get a sentiment move. Some forward thinkers there might load that up. Okay. We've got 3 minutes. Anything else? Counting people watch your robots as management. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I like the way you guys are thinking. It's good. It's good growth here. Good growth. Even some of you guys, even though the things you guys comment has made massive improvements over the years. You know, guys, the trade ideas. I got muted on Top Step Discord. I want props for that. I guess props. I don't know what you did. That's funny. The PR guys suck. Yeah, that seems like a common trend among the prop funds. Is uranium dead? No. Oh, no. Uranium's not dead. No, we love our uranium positions. And in fact, I'm feeling a little bit of FOMO over not buying some GEV. Cause look at this guy. She's attempting a breakout here. Oh, maybe even not. Close. Didn't close above it though, so it's not there yet. Not there yet. You got one bearish candle there. It's already trying a reversal. That's about as giga bullish as it gets. Other names like CCJ have had nice bounces out of the hole, but I mean, look at the multi-year time frames. Like, like CCJ isn't something that's been in and out of my portfolio since about 2019 or so. So if you think uranium's dead, let's just make sure that we're kind of zooming out here, right? So we got this massive wedge here that led to this multi-year breakout. We're holding this great support line here. Even after multiple sell-offs, multiple phases of people like, oh, uranium's not a big deal, and then it explodes back. So let's see. And on top of that, like this TTM looks bottom just as well on the weekly, actually. In fact, it's looking really good. The monthly's rolling over, but it's just barely crept its way into bearish. So it's got time to reverse out of that. It's got 21 more days to reverse out of that. So we'll see how it develops from there. But unless it breaks this, I think it's fine. And this early 2000s rally is nothing like this. It's not even close. We can look at CEG2 real quick before I go. Exact same structure. Massive bull market. We actually did come into my original entry on this name. Wow. Yeah, I really hope we come and back test this. I imagine tech will, but this doesn't necessarily have to. I really hope it does, because I wouldn't mind averaging up a little bit or in a little bit. But that came back to my original entry, which is kind of wild. It's above it now. At 215, it's well above it. Jeez, huge 50-point move this week. Wow. They're not dead, though. The appetite's still there. You know, and the unwinding, everything gets sold and people start, their convictions get shaken. None of mine are shaken in uranium. They didn't even try to shake the convictions out of gold. I mean, just look at this gold chart. Does that look bearish? Think about what happened. Look, literally pull up anything. Find me anything that looks as bullish as this right now. Literally nothing exists. No commodity, no stock, nothing. Like in my opinion, there's no way you still can't be giga bullish on gold. So I think it's going right back to the highs. It's going to keep blowing to new highs. And I think that this is also still the ultimate warning sign for you, for all of us, that there is much greater turbulence coming in the future. Because the demand for safety was existing before even the crash. And even during the crash, it barely got shaken. Like, we've had normal retracements that have brought us below this bearish EMA, guys. And this massive crash that sent us into a technical bull market, a 20% retracement, only brought us to our bearish EMA on the daily. Didn't even get close to breaking it. And then blew out of the hole, and it's closer to all-time new highs than it is the low now. It doesn't get any more bullish than that. Like, there's no bias you could have. I mean, that's just clear, clean price action. They're just buying this thing on the ask. All right, we're gonna call it. I gotta get going. I promised my wife I'd watch I'd get in class at 7 and watch that new show about the midget girl pretending to be a kid. It was a bit of a psycho. Or I can't, American Family or something, I think is what it's called, The American Family. Whatever. So if we don't have any more questions, yeah, GEV kind of covers. Yeah, GEV is like natural gas and uranium. Sorry, I missed that one. Yes. Down for more turbulence. Yep, good. Kill Tony. I did not watch that on Netflix. Got one comment from Jan's coming up, and then I'm going to. They're called small people now. Oh, well, not to me. That's not what I say. And what I say goes. You're in my world right now. And in my world, that's a midget. Alright. I'm just kidding, guys. So this is a little banter. All right. Y'all have a wonderful night, okay? We'll see you in the morning. The week's not done. We're not out of these crazy times. Don't feel the FOMO, okay? Fight the FOMO. All right? All right. Have a good night. Feel free to send me some DMs or something if you want to chat more about what we covered, okay? All right? And we'll end